Morning. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Welcome to the session on wearable devices and experiences future trends. I'm founder and CEO of DEXPERIO. We are a company who is specialized in smart digital experiences. So we heavily believe in the opportunity of the Internet of Everything. And these opportunities have a lot to do with wearable devices and the upcoming technologies. I'm just waiting for the presentation to be set up. All right, again, the session about wearable devices and experiences future trends. So that's me. We have already had the introduction. The session you will get the next around about 30 minutes is divided into 4 pieces. The first section is about a little introduction to wearables. Then we talk about some numbers, about market stats. Then we look into some trends and emerging device categories. And I close with some real-world experiences and examples. So before we start, I'd like to show a little video.
Вначале хотелось бы показать небольшое видео.
We are at the beginning of a new era. Personal computing is being redefined as the technology around us becomes a part of who we are. This is the wearable revolution.
We've put technology on our bodies to make ourselves better, to find a way to kind of move through the world and extend ourselves.
Wearables are a manifestation of the tip of an iceberg.
These devices present an opportunity to integrate the digital into the physical.
All right, so I'm not affiliated with Intel, but I think it's a great motivational start for the presentation. Okay, so now that we've seen what's possible, let's set some basics right. So you are 2 days in a conference about wearables, so I just want to make sure that everybody gets the right definition for wearables. Okay, so wearables are simply small electronic devices. So they have sensors built in and have some computational capabilities. They are mostly put into some enclosures so that you can wear them on your body. You can wear them on your head, on your feet, on your arms, on your wrists, and they come in different form factors. Most important, they can capture data and they can display data. This sounds pretty simple, but this opens a lot of opportunities, and we will see the different device categories later. And the first digital devices and wearables appeared the last century, so along the PC revolution, but it was pretty slow. But we had already a few nice devices we could wear on our wrists, like calculators or data banks. So in the beginning of 2000, along with the mobile revolution, it got much more interesting. So many little different computing devices came to market and the whole wearable revolution started. I don't want to go into all the details on the left side. I want to show you more some live devices I brought with me. It's a little collection of my gadget museum I built over the years. I want to start with this little watch here. It's a Spot watch. It's a watch from 2004. It looks like a modern smartwatch, and it was already connected at that time. It's from Microsoft. It's based on a technology called Spot. And it works with radio waves. So I bought it around in 2004, and I tried it out in the USA. And there are really radio waves who are providing the information to this device. So you need to configure the data you want to see on your device, and they have been transferred via radio waves. So the experience is pretty much the same like you get on a modern watch. So, for instance, getting some notifications about meetings. So I very often got information that I'm running late to a meeting, and it was the same experience in 2004 like it is now in 2014. All right, so then I have here also, some fitness trackers. You maybe remember the little devices, the trackers you could use in conjunction with your smartphone from Nike. So I have here the original first Fitbit. I pre-ordered the first day when it was available. I have here also the Jawbone Up, which was also very interesting fitness band. But I have also some other interesting devices, like for instance an iPod Nano. So you maybe remember when the iPod Nano came out, a few people started to put the iPod Nano on a wristband to make it like a watch. And this is what you see here. And exciting enough, 2 years later, a smartwatch from Sony came out. And look at the design; it's pretty much the same. All right, so here another few watches. That's the original Pebble smartwatch, the watch who kicked off the latest smartwatch revolution. And I have also another pretty exciting fitness tracking device or health device. It's the Intel Basis. It's one of the most advanced health tracking devices. It's also pretty new, and it's a very exciting device I'm currently wearing. So, but I not just have smart watches, I have also, as you can obviously see, a smart glass. I'm wearing Google Glass, but I have also Oculus Rift with me, so that's the first development kit version. The second is currently shipped to my home, but I have also the latest revolution in wearable virtual reality gear, namely cardboards. I come to this later. So just to round up my little collection of devices I brought with me. Okay, so now that we've seen what have been the past, got the definition of wearables, we see that there's a huge opportunity out there. We will see many different form factors and devices. So the question is, how can we really classify the whole universe of digital or wearable devices? I defined 4 different classification criteria how we can really look into wearable devices. So the first one is about the position on your body. So pretty simple. Are you wearing something on your head, on your wrist, on your eye, on your hand, or your foot? So that's pretty straightforward and a simple way to think about wearables. So a second way of classifying wearables is to think about the distance to your body. This is a classification introduced by a German company called Wearable Technologies, and they decide between devices which are close to your body, attached to your body, or inside your body. For instance, close to your body would be a live logging camera, attached to your body would be a smartwatch, and an implant would be inside your body. Okay, so the last classification criteria had to do with your body and distance or position. Now pretty straightforward. You can think about the device categories, the devices you can buy. You buy either smart glasses, smart clothing, smart headgear, smart watches, etc. Okay, so now we've seen 3 criteria. The last one is more looking about the applications you can use with your wearables. Is it something you can use in healthcare, in medical, in fitness, in wellness, in lifestyle, etc. So again, these criteria just help you a little bit to get a structure into the universe of wearable devices. Okay, so on the next slide you see a list of the variety of wearable devices. I just briefly touch a few of the devices. We start with the headgear. You can wear smart helmets or even smart bands. In eyewear you can use smart glasses like Google Glass or even smart lenses. On your hand you can wear devices like smartwatches, obviously, smart bands, so the whole fitness tracking devices come mostly as smart bands, or even smart rings will now come to market where you, for instance, can do some remote control and gesture functions. So on the footwear, you've maybe heard about smart socks, smart inlays, you can have smart sport shoes or other casual footwear. Then there's the category of so-called body wear. It's not necessarily attached to a specific part of your body. It could be smart clothing, smart fabric, smart fashion, things like that. So on your neck you can wear, of course, nice fashion jewelry, ties, collars. So we hopefully see a lot of interesting fashion gear during these 2 days. Okay, now that we've looked into the device categorization, the different wearable categories, let's look a little bit into the market and the numbers around wearables. I will start with a nice infographic from a company called Wearable World. They're actually based in San Francisco and they are close to our San Francisco office. They are our neighbors, and they published this infographic a couple of months ago, and it's an exciting technology ecosystem view of the whole wearable ecosystem. One of the interesting numbers on the slide in the middle is the market size. So the expected market for wearables in 2018 will be 30 billion US dollars. This is a pretty exciting number. I have to disappoint you, it's probably wrong, like most of the numbers today, but it's just indicating we're talking about a huge market opportunity. So when we go deeper into the graphics, so they're listing a lot of companies in the different categories, so like infrastructure companies. We should not forget that a lot of players are in the market providing the foundation for wearables, hardware, software, services, etc. Okay, and the next 5 hours I will dig into the graphic and talk about every single logo on the slide. No, just kidding. Now, I don't want to go into the details. I just recommend, if you're interested in the market, that's a very nice start to give you a lot of different company names. So I have put the address where you can download the graphic in the appendix, and I highly recommend you to have a look at it to get a good start in the whole universe of the different markets and the whole technology ecosystem in wearables. Okay, now I have another infographic. It's pretty fresh. It's just from August this year, and it gives a little bit insight into the different categories. So it's from a company called CSS Insight. It's a UK-based consultancy, and what you can see is currently we talk about 2,000 million devices a year. The most dominant category are wristbands. The second is wearable cameras, and we see already smartwatches emerging. Okay, so when we look into the future, the prediction is in 2018 that smartwatches will dominate the space, followed by wristbands and a few other categories. So the interesting thing is that we talk then about a yearly volume of 135 million devices, and accumulated we will have 370 million wearables in the world. And when you look into this number compared to the penetration of personal computers, this took more than 2 decades to come to 300 million devices, and now we talk about wearables, and this will take just a few years to get to that kind of penetration. On this section, I just want to highlight that smartwatches again will be the most dominant category in 5 years. More than 50% of the wearables will be smartwatches. And interestingly, when you look at the glassware, you know, there was the big hype around Google Glass last year, etc. They just predicted to have a market share of 2% in the consumer market. Okay, so, but again, this is consumer market, and I think smart glasses will have a much higher adoption rate in commercial application scenarios. In this section, I just want to briefly highlight that most of your devices are companion applications for your smartphones. So we shouldn't forget that fact, so that just the rare wearables are standalone devices. So it's really the combination of a smartwatch with a phone which makes the difference. And more than 50% of all the wearables shipped will be companion applications to smartphones. Okay, so now we'll look a little bit into the future of wearables, and I speed up a little bit. I can highly recommend a report from a company called PSFK. It's freely downloadable, available, and they made a really nice document about the future of wearable tech. What you see is a roadmap, so they define certain functionalities of wearable devices, and they put a roadmap which indicates how the technical functionality of wearables will evolve over time. And it gives a nice roadmap where you can see what category is emerging from a functionality, and indicates also when they become more popular on the market. They also introduced a concept how wearables help to build different experiences. They have 3 categories. They have a category called connected intimacy. It's about how you can improve your person-to-person relationships. Just an example, I recently met a company who is building a pillow. So let's say you're a couple which living remotely. Let's say the husband has a heart rate monitor, and the heart rate is being transferred wirelessly to the pillow, and then you can feel the heartbeat even in a remote location. So isn't this a nice application? So there are other scenarios like how you can evolve your own capabilities, your body. Let's say you put a smart lens in your eye, maybe you will have some zoom functionality in a couple of years. I'm personally mostly interested in the third category, which is about how you build a more intelligent digital ecosystem, how you can expand basically the interaction between your wearables and your other digital devices. And this is now the emerging device category. I will briefly touch these three categories because I personally believe they are important to develop next generation smart digital experiences. It's about smartwatches, smart glasses and headsets, and they are so exciting because they don't just have input and sensor capabilities, but they have especially output capabilities. They have displays and other things, and so they can nicely integrate with other digital devices. Okay, I briefly start with the smartwatches, and I don't want to go too much into the detail because of the time. I just want to say I have three devices picked up. On the left side you see the Pebble smartwatch. This was the watch who kicked off the whole smartwatch kind of revolution. It's still very popular, it's huge in the market. People who are using this device are using it 80% more than the other smartwatches. So they have a very strong community, and it's interesting to see how they survive over time based on the competition we have coming up. So we have on the right side two interesting devices. The one is the Motorola 360. I ordered one 2 weeks ago when it was launched, and I'm waiting to get it shipped and get my hands on. I have already another Android-based smartwatch, the Samsung Gear Live. So these are phones based on the Android Wear operating system from Google. So these watches are more focusing on notifications, and I think it's a pretty exciting category. A lot of different vendors are building now Android Wear-based watches. So on the right side is the Apple Watch, which has been introduced just 2 weeks ago. It's not the iWatch, it's now the Apple Watch, and it's also a very interesting device. The approach is a bit different. It will ship next year. It will have different variations of it. It's more the luxury type of device, but it has also a lot of fitness sensors built in. And Apple is probably going more into a kind of app ecosystem rather than more a service-based ecosystem like Google is doing that. Okay, now just briefly touching the next category, which is smart glasses. You know, I'm wearing Google Glass. It's now for 2 years available. You can buy it now in the US and in the UK. It's $1,600 US, and it's a very exciting device. It's probably more used in commercial scenarios. So Google tried out a lot of things, and it turns out that the acceptance of the device in the consumer space is not that high. There are a lot of difficulties for devices like smart glasses. It's the social acceptance, you know. A lot of people think I'm making photos or filming you, and so it's really creating a challenge. And so it will be very interesting to see how the whole category will develop. But the devices itself are pretty exciting, and you can do a lot of interesting things. They have hands-free capabilities, voice control, gestures, and they're opening up a very exciting array of opportunities. I put two other devices on. The one is a Recon Jet, which is also a consumer-focused device. And Sony just this week announced officially the Sony Smart Eyeglass, which will be released next year. Actually, I had a chance already to try it out 2 times. One at the beginning of the year at the Consumer Electronics Show. I was not too excited, but now at IFA in Berlin, I have seen the second generation of the device, and it could be a very interesting consumer device, and we will see how the market will evolve with these devices coming to market. Okay, so this is how the displays of the devices look like. I just briefly want to talk about another pretty exciting development. It's virtual reality headsets. So virtual reality is available for 30 years now, but it never really took off broadly. But I think we are close to the point in time where virtual reality will become a huge success. On the left you see the Oculus Rift. It's the first device. It was also a Kickstarter campaign. Later they got bought by Facebook for $2.3 billion. And so this is the device which really kicked off the whole virtual reality movement. So Sony is also working on a high-end gaming headset, but Google released recently on a developer conference so-called cardboards. And actually, I have one with me. Our company is now even producing own cardboards. So the thing is, when you have a smartphone, you have a nice computer and a nice screen. And when you put it into a device like that, you have a full virtual reality headset, and the quality is even better, like the current version of Oculus Rift, because your phone has a better display. And so this creates really an exciting opportunity, because this kind of devices cost $10 to $20 rather than $200 to $300. So this was an unforeseen development, but brings a lot of excitement to the virtual reality space. So just to finish up, Samsung recently released the Gear VR. It's basically the professional version of such a cardboard. It's probably the best virtual reality headset you can buy at the moment. So they did it together with Oculus Rift on the software side, and I tried it out at IFA. It's really gorgeous. Now we come to the last section, and I speed up a little bit. So now we have seen the different devices. So the question is now, how can we integrate wearables to make really connected experiences? This is the big picture. Just briefly, the big opportunity is the Internet of Everything. So we have more and more devices, service. We're using it in all kind of contexts. So we have the age of ubiquitous computing. Computing is everywhere. And wearables play an important role. So because you carry the wearables across all the different contexts, you make a smart body with the devices. You use them also in your smart life, in your smart home, in your smart car, in your smart workplace. And they can talk to other connected devices. And then you even go out into the smart world, where you maybe interact with some sensors in shops, in museums, and in other places. So the second scenario is about an in-flight service experience. So you maybe heard that Virgin Atlantic has already tried out some innovative concepts of how using Google Glass in the airplane service, and we developed also a demo for that on Google Glass. If you're interested, you can later come to me and watch it live on the device. So it helps basically the service personnel to communicate more effectively, and also gets very easily some information, for instance, about passengers, etc. Okay, so the last example I have is about product exploration. So how can you give people the ability to touch on products which have not been built yet? Let's say you want to buy a luxury yacht for 60 million, which needs 2 years to being built. So there's a nice way to give some exploration capabilities based on virtual reality headsets. And I've tried to make a little video which gives you an idea how it looks like. So don't be confused, the real quality is much better. Okay, maybe we just wait a few seconds, because then we see how it looks like when you enter the inside. And actually what you do, you control the environment with your head movements, and at the same time you have a controller where you really move your body in this virtual environment. So now we're getting inside the boat, we're looking around, and you can see that it gives you a nice idea how the product will look like. Okay, so with that last example, I'm at the end of my presentation. We have seen that wearables are an exciting new technology with a lot of future. The market is really big, and we can expect a lot of business opportunities here. Wearables create a lot of opportunities for building next generation user experiences, and there are many different new opportunities, and I invite all of you to be creative and build some next generation experiences with wearables. So thank you very much. So and at the end of the presentation you find some links to the resources I mentioned. There is even a nice trend book I was co-authoring, so I can recommend you to read all these different things. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them now or come later. I'm here for the whole conference. So thank you very much again.